You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, this is Joe's sister Nikki. I think I might be the only girl in the world who has a brother who spends his entire day in the basement pretending he has an internet radio show.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and what could possibly derail your retirement plans? Today, we'll present 4 culprits and how you can protect against them. But that's not all. Are you thinking about that side hustle you've always wanted to do but don't have the courage to pull the trigger? We have a TikTok minute that'll hopefully get you moving. And of course, I'll be sure to give you a heaping helping of my delectable trivia. And now, 3 guys who are taking a break from filming the next season of Squirrels Gone Wild. It's Joe, OG, and Len Penzo.
Hey there, Stackers, and happy Wednesday. You're right. We were just getting to the part where, I don't know, what are we calling them, Len? Squirrel A and Squirrel B? Squirrel A is having really a conniption, his mom calls it.
Yeah, and Squirrel B is about doing the same thing. So you should see Squirrel C. Just wait till you see Squirrel C.
When Squirrel C sees Squirrel A and B together, I can't, well, that's going to be...
Did you get him to sign the releases this time? Get him into the back of the RV and get him to sign the releases before you're filming them?
You should see the contract language, Doug. They sign anything.
People are brand new to the show going, what the hell? Is this a money show? Welcome back to Stacking Benjamin. Sit back and relax because we've got an hour of fun and, some super helpful conversation today. If you've ever dreamt about retirement, what could make it go the wrong way? Well, one guy is going to make sure it goes the right way. He's also here today. Mr. OG is here. Tear yourself away from Squirrels Gone Wild, man. And let's get this thing
How
going.
Did you know?
It's
my flushed appearance.
Must see TV. What's your Nielsen rating on that, Len?
You know, it's actually pretty good. I'm getting more comments, though, for the Squirrel Cam After Dark. I keep getting encore requests for the possum that keeps going into the getting into the video, which Doug thought was a dinosaur. I remember one time.
Tell me a possum's not a dinosaur.
That hood, that weird, I don't know, facial structure that they have.
You know, the possum just, I got another video of the possum the other night, and what was cool is he turned around. I'm gonna post it in a couple weeks here. He turned around and he gave a nice little butt shake, a little shimmy for the camera before he sauntered off.
I think he calls that the money maker.
Shake that ass.
Talk about an animal getting too big for its britches now. So we may have to renegotiate his contract.
That's a big old booty on that. On that possum.
Just let me know when you guys want to transition back to money stuff.
Why don't we do that in just a second? Because we got a couple sponsors that make sure today's show is free. You don't have to pay for any of this. The Squirrels After Dark. I think you're supposed to whisper
People are like, you're kidding. This isn't paid content? Tell me it ain't so.
It is. Well, by the way, if you want to see any of that, that's the exciting stuff happening over at lenpenzo.com. And anyway, we got a couple sponsors to make sure this is free. We're going to hear from them. And then we're going to dive into things that can derail your retirement, like spending all day watching Squirrels After Dark. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily that didn't end up happening, but starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier, because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy to use platform, that's something that would have made Stacky Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
Hello, darlings. And now it's time for your favorite part of the show, our Stacking Benjamins headlines.
Our headline today comes to us from a website that I had never heard before, eggstack.com. Doug, I think you just ate the entire egg stack in front of us before we started recording today. Like, what's going on there, man?
I'm into my egg sandwiches.
Yeah, how did you make that? How did you make that sandwich?
Oh, man.
How did you make that?
This is, don't, this
No,
is
because
like,
Doug was bragging about it while he was eating in front of us.
I know, but Len, this is going to turn into an episode of Chef's Table before we're done.
Basically, it involves a microwave and Costco bread. So let's not quite elevate the.
Well, I just
experience.
wanted to brag. I wanted to brag to Doug about my sandwich because after the show, he made me hungry, and I was working on a sandwich as well. It's a pureed nut spread with a strawberry reduction, and I'm pairing it with a brioche bun. So it should be really good.
Mm-hmm. That's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Right.
Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing you could call it.
Doug, that took me a minute. I was like, oh, wow. Wait a minute. Hold on. The author here, Mike Ballou, writes, life is unpredictable and even the best laid plans can go astray. If you want to improve the odds of a successful retirement, you need to consider the risks along the way. Here are 4 things that can derail your retirement plans. Number 1 here is pretty interesting, OG, because we saw this statistic just last fall, this idea of a healthy retirement, not longevity, but healthy longevity. And in the United States, according to the Wealthy Accountant blog, that age is 66 in the United States, 66 years old until your plans might get derailed because of the fact that you aren't healthy enough to do the things that you thought. Do you consider, OG, in a financial plan, this idea of healthy retirement when somebody's planning out their golden years?
I mean, you have to, right? I mean, you have to think about when you're going to be able to do the things that you want to do. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about last episode too, about being healthy and, that sort of stuff with Angelo. It's like all of this stuff is interrelated. If you're going to, have a ton of money, but be wildly unhealthy, none of that's going to matter. There's not enough money in the world to make you healthy if you're not going to take care of yourself. And you can have all the money in the world, but if you get, flattened by a heart attack at 66, that ain't going to matter either. So I think all of those things go together, but you also have to recognize that. And I think this is why some people kind of come to this conclusion in their 50s, and maybe even why the whole FIRE thing exists, right? It's like, it's one thing to have 10 million bucks in the bank when you're 65 and then not be able to use it, versus having 5 million in the bank when you're 52 and you go, well, now I can do the stuff that I want to do. I can travel, I can hike, I can bike, I can, do whatever it is that excites me. I'm not just sitting around. But I think it also matters from a planning standpoint as you think about your spend and how that's going to transition. I don't think anybody's spend is going to go down. I think it's going to transition. You're going to go from spending on travel and gifts to family and that sort of thing to healthcare and charitable donations.
And Metamucil.
Who doesn't take fiber pills? Everybody does, right? No? Just me? Mine are gummies, though.
Len, did health influence your retirement date? Like when you decided that you were going to retire?
Well, in the fact that I was in good health, I've seen people, I know people who retired and then they got sick. They got something sick the year after they retired, and then, they passed away a year after that. So that might have influenced me to retire a little earlier in that regard, because right now, knock on wood, my health is very good. I put a lot of thought into long-term health care insurance, in case you get something catastrophic like Alzheimer's or something like that, and you can't take care of yourself. Boy, it was really, I struggled with that thing. I thought about it for a long time, and I ultimately decided not to get it myself. I think I have enough, even if something that bad happens, I think I can get away without getting it. But let me tell you that was something I put a lot of thought into before I retired. One of the toughest decisions I ever made was when I finally made it not get it.
Well, and you can tell just by the price tag on that, Len. I mean, these insurance companies, they're regulated by the various states. And when people see the price tag, they're like, oh my God, this is gouging us. It isn't gouging you. It's that so many people use it that you really got to consider it.
Yeah. My mother-in-law, who was very ill and she had cancer, and there was for a while there at the very end, we were looking into getting her some long-term health care stuff, and it was very expensive, and she did not have the money really for it. It was $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And that's just her being in a bed and being taken care of daily. I mean, there's no benefits to that other than, you just need nurses there to care for her. That's where end of life care stuff. And that was very expensive. So we ultimately decided to we kept her here at our house and we took care of her until she passed. But, you might have to do that. If you don't plan properly, you might be in that kind of a position. So you really need to think about it.
We decided the same thing. We said there's a shelter, and it's horrible. We just set them out on the street, and
it's a refrigerator box
because we couldn't afford all that. No, it is super expensive. In fact, I saw a TikTok video just this morning about a couple. She, I believe, was 7 or 8 years younger than him. And at age 57, I'm 57 right now. At age 57, he was having difficulty figuring out, like, finding the right word. And I thought, well, I do that all the time. But he was having a lot of difficulty. And then it got worse and worse. And they ended up almost a year later going into the doctor. They found out he had early onset Alzheimer's at 57 years old. Diagnosed at 58. And then at 60, when they did this video, he was clearly struggling to come up with the word to say in the sentence. And man, I mean, I think, people think of some of these things I get, quote, old and gray, but as 50 becomes the new 40 and 60 becomes the new 50 and people are living longer and longer, these medical issues appearing out of nowhere. Like, I think that's a big part of got to be a part of your financial plan.
Well, Len, just to pour more gasoline on your thoughts around long-term care costs, it's not even for whether or not you can afford it. It's whether or not you can afford it and your spouse can afford to also live their life the way they need. Because you basically end up with two living expenses then. You have the person who needs the care burning $4,000 a bargain, probably closer to 8 to 10 in today's pricing a month for the stuff. And then you've got the other spouse who's not doing that, still at home paying the water bill and the property taxes and food on the table and that sort of thing. So it definitely is a tough decision.
Well, and we also have the wear and tear on the caregiver, which this has been well documented scientifically, The guy living across the street from us was taking care of his spouse at home, Len, like you were talking about. He predeceased her.
Oh, wow.
When we first moved in across the street from them, he was great, but taking care of her as often as they did. And they had a woman also came in for at-home care. That I think on Bill, it really took its toll, OG.
Yeah, there's a lot of unseen calculations that go beyond just the simple, like, I got a 50% chance of using this, and here's the premium, and here's the benefit, and that sort of thing. I would bet that in this example that you're talking about with the person with Alzheimer's that was a lot young, I would bet that there were some, I don't want to say negligent, that sounds bad, but I bet you there's some healthcare things that happened in the 30 years prior to that maybe were unaddressed leading into that.
Maybe some flags, some signals they might have missed.
I mean, how is his blood sugar in his 40s? I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I'm not saying that's correlated. I'm just saying, like, could there have been other things that dominoed that into, or maybe it wasn't? There's always going to be the one-off thing, right?
Sure.
Like,
I didn't mean to
the
scare
heart
people
attack
with
that happens to the 37-year-old that you go, I don't get it. The guy was in great health and ran marathons. What's the deal? So that's going to be weird stuff. But I think when you're thinking about retirement and the requisite kind of planning that goes with that in terms of costs, as we build plans, we add a healthcare cost prior to 65 and a healthcare cost post 65. 65 is where Medicare kicks in. So everybody is eligible for that, and you pay for it based on your income.
You build that into the financial plan.
We build it in the plan. So if you want to retire when you're 55, it's not just like, well, my living expenses are $8,000 a month, so it's $8,000. It's $8,000 a month plus a healthcare cost because you're buying your own health insurance now with this, period of time, or you're more likely to spend higher numbers on healthcare because you're a little bit older and stuff comes up. And I don't know that the number that we use is right or wrong. I think it's good to just think through that exercise. I know, Len, that's something that you did too. You kind of thought about all the contingencies, you didn't just sit down and go, well, the spreadsheet says I spend $8,000 a month, so penciled it out, 4%, bango, let's go. It's like, well, what if I need this? Or what if, how the whole idea about what if planning, the way that I think about it is, you're going to make really terrible decisions in the moment when you combine high emotional stress and important money decisions. You hear people say, hey, if you inherit money, just sit on it for 6 months. There's a reason for that. Because how did you inherit the money? You won the lottery, or grandpa died, or your folks passed away, or you got the lawsuit money. All this stuff has been going on in your life. And somebody goes, here's the check for $4 million. This high emotional state. And then you're going to go, I'm going to make really good money decisions now? Probably not. So the idea with kind of what if planning is, while you're of relatively sound mind, you can do that. You can game that out and say, well, if I did need assisted care, what would I do? Like, how much would that cost? And who would be in charge of making that decision? And you know what I mean? Like, you can kind of play with it a little bit. It's still not fun to think about these things, right?
Yeah.
It's not exciting.
And OG, and that's something that, at least for me, that's not something that I came to my decision, should I get insurance or should I not? That kind of thought process, I didn't do that in a day or a week or even a month. I mean, I spent a couple years wrestling with which path am I going to take there? You have to really think long and hard and carefully before you, it's a big
the interesting
decision.
thing too is, for you, Len, in particular, and for any of us, you still have that choice until you get to a spot where you have, some debilitating medical issues. You didn't say no forever. You just said no, not right now.
Correct.
You know
That's
what I mean?
correct.
Like, there may be some other thing that changes your opinion on this, or some financial decision, or, something that goes, oh, well, now there's a different fact pattern, different time to make a decision. You tried to give yourself the opportunity, and I believe in this a lot too, make the decision that gives you the most decisions in the future.
Yes. There's a lot of things in the calculus. I mean, there's things like your age too. It's like, well, when are you going to take if you want the insurance, are you going to take it now? It's cheaper if you take it now. If you wait 10 years, you're going to be paying a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have to put all
But you
that
pay it
into
for 10
account.
years when you're healthy.
Oh, of course, that's all in the calculus.
There's
That's
the
all
trade.
the things. But if you have a family history, say, of early onset Alzheimer's or something like that, then you might want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the bad part about all this is that's what you're hoping for, right? I mean, you're hoping you waste a ton of money. That is your goal. If you go with the insurance, if you don't, that could be much, much more catastrophic. Or you hit the lottery and it doesn't happen to you. One or the other kind of makes your outcomes more known. But this is, This what if planning, by the way, was maybe my favorite part of financial planning. In fact, I had to stop myself, OG, because I would just keep what if planning my client scenario over and over. What if we did this? What if we did this? And I would model like 50 of those. And then I had to back off and go, we don't have 10 hours for this meeting for me to show them all these different, plus people get analysis paralysis when you show them 85 different things. But I do know, Len, when you're in engineering, I mean, I got to believe a ton of what you guys did was these what if, I don't know if you called them what if scenarios, but you must have had what if this happens, what if that happens before you go build stuff.
Yeah, no, it's risk analysis. And you set up a grid and you have consequences versus the actual outcome or the risk of that consequence happening. You can look it up. You give a score for consequence, you give a score for the actual risk of it or the odds of it happening. Is it likely, or is it moderately likely, or is it not likely at all? And it kind of helps you figure out which path you want to take. But that's what engineers do all the time. I mean, that's how they decide how things are designed.
Yeah.
It's cost risk analysis, basically.
Yeah. And when I hear people say things like, I'm going to think about, long-term care, and I think we even talked about that earlier. I'm going to think about it. I'm like, what are you actually going to do? Well, like, let's not think about it, because I can walk down the street and go, yeah, that sounds expensive. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, like I said, you take the consequence of the thing that you're worried about, and then what's the odds of that happening? If there's something that's could be really catastrophic that might happen to you, but the risk of it happening to you is very low, it's probably not worth spending the money on, the insurance for that. But if there's something, for example, if you have a family history of early onset Alzheimer's, that's a pretty bad outcome, and the risk is probably pretty high. So the odds are you probably do want to commit some money to that in terms of insurance.
Well, the thing that I like that you did was you widened the discussion, though. It wasn't just insurance, it was risk management, right?
Correct.
Because then you thought with your portfolio, you're like, I think I can handle this without it. And then you're putting your portfolio at risk, but you already know that ahead of time. I mean, this is risk management. Do I take the risk myself, or do I hand it over to a third party?
Yeah, the other variable in there then for something like that is, well, okay, I mean, if you're worried about handing over money, wanting to leave your kids with a chunk of change when you're passed on, that's going to come into effect too. It's like, well, I want to make sure my kids have some money left over. Then maybe you're more likely to take the insurance as well. Otherwise, or if not, then you say, well, that's on them, and my retirement is my retirement, and I have the money to spend that if we get ill.
People are wondering, by the way, OG, how to know what Len was talking about, the odds. I mean, a great place to start is with the premium. I think the premium on this thing is gigantic. There's a reason it's gigantic. There's some actuary behind those numbers. This isn't just an insurance company taking it to you.
Well, there's a number of, I know if you're talking specifically about long-term care insurance.
I'm just talking about any type of insurance, right? Just look at the different types of insurance. If the premium's high, I need to maybe worry about that one. If the premium's low.
I mean, yes and no, but you can get the idea of what is a higher probability of happening as you think through logically what, probability and the cost of it happen and the magnitude of if it does happen by looking at the comparison of different things, right? So you look at your accidental death and dismemberment policy that's $100K and it's 11 cents a paycheck versus your $100,000 20-year term and it's $11 a month. And you go, why would one be 10x or 100x the thing? Or you look at your car insurance and you go, yeah, my car insurance is really high. It's like $2,000 every 6 months, $4,000 a year. Why is my house insurance $2,500? Like, but my house costs way more. Well, there's only two factors in here. The factors are probability of something happening and the magnitude of the event if it were to happen. And so if you go, well, my house costs a lot more, but the premium's less, that must tell you that the likelihood of you wrecking your car is that much more higher, or your 16-year-old wrecking your car, is that much higher than something bad happened to your house. Same thing with long-term care coverage. It should tell you a little bit about, at least conceptually, how that's priced out.
There's another facet of this for people that are thinking about retire. Even if you're in your 20s, 30s, whatever, you might think I'm going to work during my retirement years. This piece also says a recent study found that 30% of Americans say they're going to work beyond age 65, whether because they have to, they want to. Well, building that into your financial plan is difficult because you have to consider the possibility you might not be able to do that. With that healthy age, that healthy lifespan being 66 years old, the chances might not be as good as you think during your planning years. So I think it's one thing to do it. I think it's actually great to do it, right? This idea of joining something, being a part of a group, having a purpose, all these reasons to have a job, those are great. But the math of I'm going to keep saving during those years is probably that could go wrong. Number 2 on this list is job loss. Another life event that could derail your retirement plans is a job loss. Besides the obvious loss of income, you could also stop contributing to your 401k, lose any employer match. Of course, you see people do this during their career, right? If they have a baby, they might take time off. They might get fired. They might get downsized. We talked about this risk a couple of weeks ago, OG. This is horizon risk, where all of a sudden the horizon changes on you for reasons beyond your control. That can really affect your financial plan.
I mean, if you're 52 and you're like, I got 10 years to go, and you get your walking papers at 59 and a half, it's.
Are you going back? Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough, right? I mean, it's a thing. There is a thing about hiring people with gray hair. It's, you're smart, Joe. You just went no hair. So nobody knows what color it would be.
When this big money podcasting thing doesn't work out.
When you finally have to go get a real job, you're going to be safe. But, so that's a real thing, right? In terms of the age discrimination. And, if you're interviewing 2 candidates and they're both really great and one's on the doorstep of what you would think would be retirement, people are going to make biasy decisions.
Well, Len, you worked in corporate America. How often did you see people over 50 get hired into your company?
Probably a little more than the rest of America, just because they're skilled. It's a really skilled profession. So sometimes you need people who are older for certain jobs but still, you're right. I mean, if there's a choice between the younger person and the older person, and they both can do the job, the younger person who's making less money will have a lower salary, is going to get the job. There's no reason to hire the older person who wants a higher salary.
Len, another place where that happened is in technology, because what often happens is companies get themselves entrenched in specific tech platforms, and then the rest of the tech world moves on to the next coding language, to the next platform, and you're still needing to support a legacy system. You got to go find those older people who were highly trained in that 20 years ago, because you haven't migrated yet off of that old legacy platform.
You need the 50-year-old who remembers Fortran. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
well, they're now 90, but yes.
Yeah, that's right. At least in the engineering where I work, there's certain jobs that a younger person, you need an older person. You need somebody with experience to do a particular job. The younger person out of school just doesn't have that experience. So there's a lot of times but still, I get it. It's true. There's age discrimination out there. And there's a reason behind it. Like I said, if you've got the younger person who's going to make a lower salary and an older person who wants more money, you're going to, and the older person might retire in a few years. You want to hire the younger person. So, that's just life.
How do you build that into a financial plan though, OG, that I might, I want to retire at 60 and at 57, I might be forced out?
Well, again, that's back to that what if thing. These are all the decisions that you can work on making early on, right? Because you solve this problem by saying, I need the flexibility to account for this, that it might happen. And so how do I get the flexibility? You don't wait till the last minute to go, oh crap, I need flexibility. You say, well, I need to plan for being a year ahead, that I can soften that blow if possible.
It's that cost risk analysis again, Joe. So what I would do if I was in that position, say I was 52 and I said, well, I'm planning to retire at 62, but I could get, odds are very good I may be laid off in the next 5 years. If I could afford it at 52, I would say, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to up my savings.
My contribution level.
My contributions. I'm going to up that. So in case that happens, I'm good at 50, 58 or 59, just because the risk is so high that I can't afford. And hey, if I make it to 59 and I'm still working, hey, then it's gravy.
Extra money.
It's extra money. But that's how I would handle it.
I like they have the author has a couple in here as well, having that emergency fund, which a lot of people avoid. They think, well, I got credit. Emergency fund comes in great here. Second is remember that you're still going to need a social network. So making sure that your resume is updated, that you have, people at other companies who might want you for a project or two afterwards, maybe in a consulting basis. I know quite a few people when I was a planner, I'm thinking of one person in particular where this happened to them. They actually got a consulting gig that tided them over. And it was because they had a phenomenal social network, just amazing network of people who were like, yeah, hey, I need somebody for, I think it was just a little more than 18 months, which fit the bill pretty perfectly. After our break, we're going to do number 3 and number 4. These are these are some good. I can't wait to hear about what you guys think about the third one on this list. But before we do that, we're going to pause here because Doug, You've got today's trivia question. Is something big going on in this day in history?
Sure is, Joe. Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. It's always so much fun having Len Penzo here. I especially love hearing stories about his childhood, growing up with all that nature, sitting by the fire, finger painting on the cave walls. I mean, did you guys have toys back then, or did you just like play with mastodon tusks and pterodactyl feathers, arranging them in the mud so they look like a face? That must have been a hoot. Of course, we're just kidding, Len.
We know he's older than that.
Yeah. But maybe, I mean, we don't know. Maybe Len knows the answer to this one. What was the first toy ever advertised on television? I'll be right back after I go see what vegetable Joe's mom's brought in from the garden.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
Hey there, stackers. I'm food from the garden lover and guy who's apparently 4 months early, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. She's not the first woman to tell me that I'm early. Weird. I don't know why that keeps happening. Anywho, today's question, we're hoping Len knows the answer to, and he can arrange a big smiley face when he gets this right. What was the first toy advertised on TV? That would be Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, yeah.
All those clues.
We were arranging things like faces, mom's garden. Come on, Len, keep up.
I had one.
It was, now, you know, the original version of this, you had to use your own potato.
I did. That's what mine was.
You used his own potato.
I remember opening on Christmas Day. It was a russet potato, and there was a whole bunch of my mom's false eyelashes and a bunch of stuffing.
It didn't even have a package.
And what was great was it already had the eyes were already on the potato, so I didn't have to.
Oh, yeah. That's you got the deluxe model. Mr. Potato Head was also the first TV advertisement targeted for children. And Len,
apparently,
the ad campaign was successful with over 1 million sets sold in the first year. There's an interesting corollary. If you look at the bar graph of the Idaho potato industry, it's exactly parallel with Mr. Potato Head. And because a guy can't be left to have fun alone, because mom says you'll go blind, and because a guy can't be left to have fun on his own, because mom says she'll go blind, Mrs. Potato Head was added the following year. And now, back to the 3 potato heads on this show, Joe, OG, and Len.
Nice. Could you imagine those kids, like at the holidays, they open up their gift to Mr. Potato Head and they didn't get the deluxe edition like Len did. And mom didn't know you had to go down to the store and stores are closed. That you can't even play with the thing. Gotta have your own potato.
Mom, it's a raw potato. Figure it out.
So good. Speaking of good, let's go over the third and fourth reason this wonderful piece says that you might have issues in retirement. And number 3, failure to launch adult children might interfere with your retirement. The biggest reasons Americans fail to adequately save for retirement is failure to launch adult children. Apparently, OG, we see this all the time. We're so busy helping out the kids, we don't have enough time for us or money for us.
It was funny. We've got Alex going to college here pretty quickly, and we've talked about different things around that and budgets around non-school essential things. This is just, we were talking about a friend whose kid came home after they graduated. And I just said, oh, and she goes, oh no, like I would be okay with the kids coming home for a little bit. I go, whoa. No, ma'am. Like our financial responsibility ends after, it ends technically according to Alex this weekend as he's a man now, but we're going to help him out with college. And I'm like, that is it, man. There's no coming home. We're selling the house. We're moving to a small condo on the golf course. Our financial support ends at college. Like when you're done, you're doing your thing. And I'm talking tough right now. We'll see. Well, call me back in 4 years and or 6 or 17, whenever Caroline's done, and ask me how it's going. But yeah, right now I'm very much on team you out.
My dad was adamant about that. It was just, no. That is not an option.
Yeah.
Failure is an option, but you're going to figure it out. I don't know. What was it like in the Penzo house growing up, Len?
Growing up, they took me back in after college. It was so I could save money to buy a house. So they didn't care whether, and I could have lived out, obviously when I graduated, I could have had my own place, but they let me save money. And I was out within 18 months. And my mom was just thrilled to have me. I was the good kid. I was mama's favorite, I guess. So she loved having me back anyways. You know what, though? Life happens. And today's kids, they have it tougher. It's a lot harder for Gen Z and the millennials than it was for Gen X and the boomers. It's just, things are different.
Especially where you live, Len. I couldn't imagine trying to buy your first, quote, starter home.
Oh, it's terrible. My daughter's still living at home. She works as a registered vet tech. She makes pretty good money and it's ridiculous. Her just rent around here in Southern California would eat up, in a decent place, would eat up almost her whole paycheck. I feel for her. And like I said, I really am sympathetic to the younger generations. It's just something's got to give here.
But if you've been in a spot, Len, where you didn't have enough money to retire when you wanted to, and you had a kid struggling after high school, where would you have drawn that line then? Because clearly you did the saving, so you have the means to be able to help them.
You can't kick them out. You have to take them in. But I would either have to get a second job or force them to get another job or something. Something's got to give. But I think the bottom line is your retirement, you are number one. It's kind of like in the airplane, put your mask on first and then your child's mask on second. In the end, you've got to ultimately look out for number one, yourself. So I guess push comes to shove, your retirement, because once you're 70 and 80, you can't work. Yeah. You can't work and you're running out of years. So you have to put yourself first in that position.
How do you see clients handle this, OG?
Well, like Len said, it's very difficult, right? At the end of the day, it's family, so how's it any different than helping out mom or helping out grandma versus helping out your kids? I don't know, except for a time standpoint, I feel like my kids have, to your point, Joe, like you guys are going to probably make mistakes and off you go and Godspeed. And I hope it works out. Mom may not have that flexibility to start over at 75. So maybe I want to help her and not Again, like I said, I'm talking tough right now. So call me in 4 years.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what my dad was doing when he's like, that's not an option. I think he was putting in my head that it wasn't an option. Had it been an option, I know my parents well enough. They would have totally let me podcast for 15 years from their basement, hypothetically.
Hypothetically speaking.
I think back then, though, Joe, you could push them out of the nest with a little more
Easier.
confidence because, just because things were different then.
Yeah,
you know?
much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have 2 crappy jobs and still have an apartment that I could pay for. You know, my some family members have done this, I think, pretty well. They have a child that they're helping out after college. They have him pay some rent, which covers his groceries. So it's less than a quarter of what his rent would normally be. But he's still helping out with the cost of the house, a piece of the cost of the house. I don't know if that's a solution that resonates with people, but I like that. There's another piece of this, by the way, talking about struggling during your retirement years. Oh, gee, you forwarded this one to me, and this is the perfect place to put this. This is not children with failure to launch. This is just children that are doing okay, but they're on the edge. This is from The Atlantic, written by a writer named Faith Hill. I don't think it's that Faith Hill. I think this is a different Faith Hill. Listen to this piece. I'm not going to tell you the title, but Elena and her husband had plans for their retirement. They wanted to move to Wyoming to meet new people, volunteer, hike the snowy, perfect Tetons. And they did move there for about 8 months. Then they got a call from their daughter, who was due to have a baby within weeks. She and her husband were on 5 or so different wait lists for daycares, and now she could see that they would still be waiting by the time she had to go back to work 6 weeks after giving birth. She needed help. Her parents dropped everything, packed up a U-Haul, moved to the Pacific Northwest. They were going back to work too as full-time grandparents. In this piece, OG goes on to say, grandparents, because life is so difficult for a young parent, you look at how expensive kids are, a lot of grandparents, OG, going back to work. But this piece talks about just how tapped out grandma and grandpa are. That might not be the option that it has been in the past.
Yeah, it's really hard to be that third generation support system. You know, I mean, financially, I think also from an energy standpoint, I've known people, I've known clients who've done it. I've known family members who have done it. And I don't know, it seems like just as much as Len, you were saying, it's rather difficult for young people to kind of get started and do the house thing and all that sort of stuff, and rent's expensive and whatever. How much of it is also like, it's not my job anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you decided to have a kid and now grandma and grandpa got to take care of it because you just found out daycare is expensive. You know, like that should have been part of the whole discussion planning into this. And I don't know that there's a right answer for that. I'm not saying that, well, then when nobody would have kids. I understand that there's a lot of financial issues there, and it's not as simple as just black and white. But I wonder if that's more of an afterthought in some cases, right? Where it's like, oh, you know, it'll be okay. My mom will help or dad will help.
I think being flippant with that is the problem.
Yeah, maybe. Or
if somebody is
overestimate, maybe grandma and grandpa are overestimating their ability to help and their energy level. Like, raising kids is tough.
I think that's the problem right there, is grandma and grandpa saying, I'm going to help. And then
they want to have grandkids. Maybe that's it. Like, when are you guys going to pop out a grandkid for us? Because, you know, we're ready. And it's like, well, we can't do it. Well, we'll help. And then they realize pretty quickly that being a full-time caregiver for an infant is pretty tough.
I will say this with our kids, we've had that pre-discussion already, and I've made it clear. It's like, we're not going to be a full-time daycare for our grandkids. We're not going to do that. I mean, you're going to have to cover if you're going to both choose to work, which my daughter does. My daughter wants to be a stay-at-home mom, but if she had to work, I said, hey, we're happy to take them, day here and a day there for whatever, obviously, but don't count on us being a full-time, every day, Monday through Friday daycare center, just because that's just not how you do it.
Neighbors of mine, Len, do once a week with their grandson.
Yeah, that's reasonable. And as grandparents, I would think you would love that once a week, but not where it turns into a job and now you're tied down. It's like, and you can't even make your own plans to go travel or do whatever because, I've got to, that's not fair to the parents.
Yeah, they get their day with Leo, which is fantastic. But I will tell you this, at the end of that day, to your point, OG, about overestimating.
They're taking naps for 3 days.
Oh, they're both exhausted. Yeah. I've gone over to their house at the end of the day, and they are exhausted after one day with Leo. Yeah, imagine 5 days a week helping out. And I know families want to, but this piece is all about, it's called Grandparents Are Reaching Their Limit. older Americans are doing more childcare than ever before because
and I'm not
things are so
suggesting it's not
expensive.
difficult, right? I think people who are in the throes of it right now are going, yeah, money bags. You think it's all easy. It's different than it was when you had kids, and it is, right? I mean, my oldest is 18, my youngest is 8, so I've got a couple of examples. But we were also fortunate enough that for Caroline, Lissa was able to stay at home, not without its own struggles, of course, but she was able to be a stay-at-home mom for Caroline. So that was a different scenario for us. But I think we're also maybe overestimating or underappreciating the wear and tear that it has on 65-year-olds.
Yeah,
and robbing them maybe a little bit too, right? I don't know.
I think everybody just has to be, again, I love this idea of the what if scenario. What if grandma and grandpa can't do it 5 days? And that makes you also ask the question ahead of time, which, Len, you've already addressed in your family. Yeah. Hard pass. Cannot.
Not it.
Don't have the energy to do that 5 days a week. The last one on this list, number 4, this is a difficult one. And we all know people in this situation. And that is if we're retiring with someone, which isn't our whole audience, but if you are retiring with someone, loss of a spouse or a partner, if you've got that person you've been planning on retiring with and they're not there anymore. Sometimes they say that it is a death. Other time and we've seen this before too, right? Kids leave, you're all of a sudden together, just the two of you, and you realize we're not the same people we were before we became parents.
I liked you better when we were not around one another.
Yeah. You see, studies show there's a ton of divorce after the last kid leaves the house. But I think modeling a divorce with your spouse or your partner would be difficult for your planning, but it's always got to be, OG, a specter that this is going to land differently.
I suggest having a separate financial plan in the corner in a red binder that says, if he leaves me, this is what I do. No. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Only open if.
Nope.
They have life insurance. Do they have divorce insurance? So you could insure, somehow.
I think there probably is some sort of system for that in the pari-mutuel world.
Yeah, it's like key employee insurance.
Yeah.
What happens if you lose your CEO? So this is easily solved. You just incorporate your marriage and then get key employee insurance.
Key marriage insurance. That is a difficult one, though, thinking about that. And we all know people, or you might be the person that this has happened to, and it changes everything. And I guess that's the thing, OG. The only thing I think to wrap this up, the only thing that is the constant is we know it's not going to work the way we plan. It's not going to work. It's not a static plan. And if you have a static plan, I think that's a ridiculous way to get this planning done. I will link to this piece from Eggstack News. Really like this, guys. 4 things that can derail your retirement plan, and the piece from the Atlantic about grandparents maybe being tapped out on our show notes page at stackybenjamins.com. Doug?
Eggstack plan? That's like my sandwich.
It is. I thought Eggstack News was created by you, but apparently there's a guy,
check it out,
Mike Ballou, that actually wrote this great piece. All right, one more segment here, and we call this the TikTok Minute. This is the part, I don't know, Len, if you've been here, have you been here? We've done a TikTok Minute? This is the part of the show where we shine a light on a TikTok creator who's either doing something brilliant or air quotes brilliant, as we often see on TikTok. So you think we're about to listen to brilliance or air quotes brilliance?
Do I have to guess?
Well, yeah, that's the way this game works.
Oh, okay.
Is before we play the clip, we're about to play a TikTok clip, audio clip. Is this brilliance or air quotes brilliance?
Okay. And I have to answer before the clip or after the clip?
You got to answer. My head hurts, Doug. Usually Doug makes my head hurt, and I'm turning to Doug to tell him my head hurts.
Welcome to Short Attention Span Theater, everyone.
Welcome to the guy with early onset. So, Len, you think it's brilliant or air quotes brilliant?
I'm going to say air quotes brilliant.
This is a spot, guys, that we see a lot of stackers end up in, and it's a difficult place to be, where you really want to make a change, but it takes a lot of courage. This is a guy that many of you have heard before. This is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Or scared to take a financial step backwards for their happiness. It is almost unacceptable in almost all societies around the world to downsize your home, sell your home or apartment, and get a smaller one. That is like, no. People are worried about what people perceive. You had a Lexus, now you have a Toyota, that's a problem. Whereas for me, if we can ever eliminate that stigma in society, we'll have a much happier world, because then people will do that, save dollars to be able to go after their dreams. I can't be a singer and do open mics and not make money. I've got to keep being this corporate executive. Well, you don't have to if you can downsize. But then imagine people with families. I have incredible empathy. If you're a mother or father and you're the breadwinner, and then you come home and now your kids have to share a room, who wants to come home and see their 7 and 4-year-old go from their own rooms and a nice backyard, and we're going to move to a neighborhood that might be not as nice, no backyard, and you're sharing a room? That is very challenging. The problem is, I think if someone is living unhappy, much bigger challenges are in front. Resentment, unhappiness, alcoholism, escapism, in all sorts of different ways that tend to lead to problems.
It's a very difficult place to be. And we all know people, Len, that have been there. You want to make a change. You're pretty unhappy. But if I'm going to make a change, I got to start in a new career. I got to do something different. And to do that, might to go from the Lexus to the Toyota. I like that. From the kids might have to share rooms. Like, this idea of going backwards is a huge hang up.
Well, you gotta, if you have to, right? I think the smart idea is to, hopefully you thought about it before right when your life got started and you moved out of the nest and you started your own thing, and you thought about this ahead of time. That's where it's important. If you don't have to downsize and you start small to begin with. And that's what I did. And I've always told my kids, it's like, we live well below our means. We've lived well below our means for a long time, not to the detriment of the kids. We still went on our vacations and we did our things, but we lived in a house. We still live in the house. It's much smaller than what I could have afforded. We drove modest cars. My whole career, I didn't have a brand new car until I was 50. I drove, old cars, and that allowed me to save money and retire when I retired at 58. So, I think the key is just, hopefully, parents out there, instill in your kids to try and live below your means, and they'll be much happier. You won't have to worry about downsizing. I think that's the key. But if you have to downsize, you have to downsize. And for kids, going from your own room to sharing a room, I think stuff like that when you're kids, I don't think kids really care. I think kids make kids have fun being kids, rooming with their siblings.
Listening to that clip was like an episode of Scared Straight. You downsize, then you go to resentment, and next it's alcoholism. Like, are those the steps?
That's true.
No, man. No. I think you missed what he was talking about there at the end. He's talking about when you don't change, when you don't make the change, it's going to light you up. It comes out in other ways. If you stay in that dead end job that you hate, it comes out as resentment. It comes out as alcoholism. It comes out as, a bunch of self-care stuff that's really not great. So you at some point you've got to make the change, is I think what he's saying.
So I don't know. There's one thing I didn't agree with him. And he was saying, well, you leave the corporate job to become spend your time working as a singer, or whatever. As a singer, unpaid singer. I think that's ridiculous. That's not downsizing. That's reckless, in my opinion.
I did it successfully.
Well, it's a risk. You can do it, but boy, that's rolling the dice to me. That's not downsizing. That's, for your own happiness.
We heard from comedian Jimmy Carr a couple weeks ago about that. Remember though? Jimmy Carr was like, I went through, I think he called it Yo-Ho, a pirate's life's for me. Like, he's like, I had a good job and I just let it go because I needed to do the thing. I had to do the thing. And that's when, I think that it's how important it is to you, is when you're willing to give it up. When I was way in debt, I lived in a rental house. Doug, you came over to my house in my rental house, and I lived in this beat up house. I had this chance to rent a house that was much, much, much nicer. And I asked my career coach at the time, I said, hey, I'm going to do this. And I think it was going to be $500 a month, which in today's dollars would be closer to like another $1,200 a month. And I remember what she said. She said, would you rather come home every day to a place that you want to get out of, or go to a place that you can barely afford, that looks right, but is not at all where you want to be? Like, do you want to put window dressing on this, for a while, or do you want to fix this the right way? And fixing it the right way was the answer. So we stayed in that house until they kicked us out and immediately bulldozed it. The Saul-Sehy family is disgusting. We got to bulldoze. Nobody could live here after them. Actually, that neighborhood was getting all these Bigfoot houses. And my goodness, the house that's there now where my old little house used to be is pretty incredible. But that is difficult, OG. But sometimes, you get to I love hearing the success stories, people going, you know what? I used to drive the thing. I realized I couldn't afford it. And so I dropped down. I think in our community, that's kind of a flex.
For whatever reason, there's a bunch of things in the budget or in your lifestyle that when you're struggling or when you are trying to make this radical change, a lot of people go, well, I can't touch that. I can't touch my kid's private school. Like we have to do that. And that's the phraseology that we use. Well, we have to, whatever. And when you use the language, and this is why verbiage really matters, you are pigeonholing your psyche into not being able to solve that problem. When you're faced with any sort of problem that you're trying to deal with, the reality is that the more you give your brain the ability to solve it, the more likely you are to come up with a solution. And you do that by having everything be on the table. And to, Gary Vee's point here, it's like everything has to count. There are no sacred cows in money when it comes to, and that was a book. Who wrote that book? I can't even remember who wrote it now.
Everything counts?
No, something about there's no sacred cows. That was the name of the book or something like that. And basically the whole point of this is when you're dealing with these things, everything has to be on the table. It's like, well, I've got a car payment. I need a car. Do you? Do you need one for the next? I mean, is there a solution that's not a car for this problem for the next short period of time? Back to Len, to your long-term care discussion, you're not saying I'm never buying long-term care insurance. You're saying I'm not buying it right now. I've done the evaluation. For me, that's not a solution that makes sense right now. In 10 years from now, you might go, you know what? I've done the planning on this and now it's something I want to do. That's the thing when it comes to all of these plans, whether it's, I just think about them like austerity plans, right? But you get fed sick and tired, right? I'm fed up with where I am and I need to make this change. This is not a life sentence. If you go on the one thing that I do appreciate from Dave Ramsey is the whole like rice and beans thing, and it's a metaphor, right? A little bit, but he's basically saying like, you just have to be okay with being uncomfortable you're not going to starve to death if you eat rice and beans. It's not going to be the greatest meal plan in the universe.
You can do it.
It's not a life sentence either. Like this is just like, it just has to suck for a while. And there's two ways that you can go through it. You can be miserable in debt for the next 15 flipping years, or it can just suck for the next 24 months. Yeah, it's really bad.
It's weird that this is the area where if you do these sorts of things, it's considered failure. But in every other aspect of your life, it's just getting smart and getting on the right path. If you're not healthy, maybe you're overweight, you've got to go on an austerity plan to get on the right path, right?
Interesting observation.
If your company isn't doing well, sales aren't where they need to be, you go on an austerity plan, you change your budget. That's just de rigueur standard operating stuff. So why is it any different with your own personal life? It's not.
Doug, I was thinking when you were talking about that, it immediately popped in my head about working out. It's like, that sucks. There's people who say, oh, I love working out. They're full of crap. Like working out sucks. Like it requires energy and commitment and discipline and
Amen.
And being uncomfortable and being sore and all those things. It's not that they love it. It's they love the process of it. I know what I'm getting by doing this over and over and over again. It's not.
Allegedly, there are these endorphins that get released, supposedly.
I get that, but that's on the back end. It takes discipline and accountability to like go to the gym at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you have to love the process to want to do those things. Not like I've never met anybody who's like, dude, my arms are so sore, I can't lift them. And it's awesome. Like, okay, cool. You might say that for, you know what I mean? But nobody really feels that way. Like
I think this is where so much of this is mindset. Like I know for me, when I decided to take control and I knew that I was the one driving that bus and we were cutting stuff and I was making sure that we were living an all cash lifestyle, like that was pretty freaking exciting. It was actually exciting, not because of the stuff that we were doing, the rice and beans, to your point, OG. That wasn't exciting. What was exciting was I chose to do that. That was really, really cool.
Empowering.
Yeah, super, super fun going, you know what? I could go out to a restaurant tonight on a credit card. We are not doing that. And that was a whole new place to be. And once I realized that I was 100% in charge of that, it was pretty kick-ass. That's a great place to leave it. We will link to that as well. And thanks to Stacker Leslie for sending that to us. That was a good one, Leslie. I saw that. I was like, go Gary V. Nice job, Doug.
Yeah, no, by the way, No Sacred Cows, Garrett Gunderson. That's the book you were thinking of.
Okay, there you go.
OG.
Garrett Gunderson, by the way, is I think we're going to have on the show this summer. So
awesome.
Yeah, it could be super cool. Garrett's a great guy. All right, let's dive into one last thing, Doug. We talked about this on Monday. We actually had some fun reviews of this podcast. Len, we actually from time to time get a review of this podcast.
How many of them are 5-star?
I think we've had a bazillion of them lately.
Well, yeah.
And by bazillion, I think we mean 3. We're 3 for 3.
Very good.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the graph here. It's a ton. That purple line on the bar chart that represents 5 stars.
People are very nice. Yeah.
Vastly outnumbers anything below it. But here's my favorite recent review, partly because it was written by beginning investor Mark with a C. I always like Marks with a C. They're going their own way. They're not like K. Anybody can do Mark with a K. This is Mark with a C. He's forging his own path.
Len, that's how we get negative reviews from the Marks with a K. Immediately.
If you got a K at the end of your name, we don't want to hear from you. All right. So Mark with a C said, great for DIY investors. Through a variety of headlines that they cover, in addition to relevant interviews, this show has struck the perfect balance of humor and investing advice. There was no funnier episode than the Pi Day episode on March 14th. I still don't understand why that was called the Pi Day. Joe is a master interviewer. OG can analogize any investing situation to make it easy to understand. And this is in all caps. And he typed it like 17 times. So I'll just say it once. Doug is awesome.
Oh my God.
By the way, Doug, I still haven't got my check for that review. When are you paying me?
And Len thought it was clever to put the C on the end of the name too.
And he says Mark with a C never misses an episode.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much. Let's do one more and then we'll save the third one for later.
Okay. Here we have JL Betton. I'm betting JL gave us a 5-star review because he said, great show, very helpful. I got into financial advice shows during COVID, and this, along with the Ramsey show, were my go-to shows. I feel that Stacking Benjamins does a great job of talking about finances with lots of comedy mixed in. Sometimes you forget it's a finance show. Thank you to Joe, OG, and most of all, especially, can't emphasize this enough, Doug,
you see where this
for
is going,
putting on
Len?
a great show.
At the end of every review, we have to put up with this. Every single one. Doesn't change.
I'm just reading. It's what I do. I'm a professional reader. And I mean, they put it out there. I say it.
Thank you for the reviews. And it's great chatting with some of you. And by the way, if you want to hang out, I will be in Boston. How do you pronounce that, Doug?
Boston.
Yes. On May 20. Let me get the date here. I should have had it ready and I don't. May 20th.
It's the 20th.
Tuesday, May 20th. As of right now, not sure where we're going to be. Probably going to, by the time this comes out, though, you'll see it. StackingBenjamins.com/meetup to tell us that you're coming. And we're going to have a lot of fun.
I love Boston. That's my favorite big city in America. It is great. It is so awesome.
Going back to Fenway there again, Len. I'll be my second time at Fenway.
Great stadium. I love it.
You know what, though? I disagree.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
I disagree with that. I've been to Fenway. I've been to Boston countless times. I've been to Fenway maybe 3 or 4 times, I think. And I am a crazy baseball fan. I love the game of baseball. I really do. And I think that the reason Fenway gets so much love is because of the history. But as a ballpark, if you take away the history, it's kind of a dump. I mean, it really is not when you're in the stands, when you're underneath the stands, when you're in the what do they call it? Not the concourse. It's dark. It's damp. It's kind of a dump. Now, don't get me wrong. I will go there as often as I can because
it's phenomenal.
Because most of baseball for me, a solid 50% is the history of the game.
I love hanging out in that about it. Street outside. That's a fun area. The shop across that street, a big shop.
It's a whole vibe, but I think there's other places like Camden Yards, like, is it Petco in San Diego?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, those places you still get that sense of history, but they're bright, they're fresh. They're just a really comfortable place to be.
And we sat in the lower deck, back row, the very last row of the lower deck, and had water drip on us the whole time, which was romantic.
Fenway?
That's part of the charm.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It was probably a spilled beer from the deck above us.
Yeah.
That was spilling on me. I remember
sitting at the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium, and I was right behind
How
a
old
beam.
Am I went to Municipal.
Yeah,
Right.
but my chair was blocked. My view was blocked by a beam. You know, this is back when they had beams.
I thought you were going to say your view was blocked by the other fan who was there.
That too.
They used to call, remember on the ticket, Len, it would say OBSVU, OBSVU.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what's an OBSVU?
Oh, I thought that was French. I thought that was French for have a good time.
They had those at Old Tiger Stadium, Doug.
Oh, they had them too. Yeah. Obstructed view. You'd sit there with a giant I-beam between your legs while you were trying to watch the game.
Doug loved every minute of that. All right, time for us to go. Let's say goodbye. Doug, what are the 3 things that should be on our to-do list today?
First, take some advice from our headline. Lots of things can ruin your financial plans, so make them flexible and spend some time thinking through what-if scenarios. That way, when disaster strikes, you'll know your next move. Second, grandparents? Maybe they're already overworked. Time to tweak your babysitter arrangements, mom and dad. Get creative. But the big lesson? Don't refer to Len as Mr. Potato Head. He's a super big fan of that nickname. How was I supposed to know that's what the honeybee calls him? No, Len. God, we're not snuggling right now. Get off me, Len. Thanks to the Len Penzo for joining us today. You'll find Squirrels After Dark, Len's sandwich survey, and his Friday Black Coffee posts and more at lenpenzo.com. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2025, and is created by Saul-Sehy. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show. But maybe Len knows the answer to this one. What was the first toy ever advertised on television? I'll be right back after I go see what vegetable Joe's mom's brought in from the garden.
Anybody got a guess?
I'm going to say Tinker Toys.
That totally sounds like an engineer answer, doesn't it?
Yeah, really. An erector set.
Well, I had all that stuff.
It was probably a chemistry set.
Was it an actuarial table, maybe?
Those are hilarious.